My name is Brenda White. I am a native of Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised, attended high school and college at Georgia State. My family is of 4 at one time. I am now a widow. I have a daughter that passed away about 17 years ago, and I have a son presently that is 32 years old. And we actually are a very tight unit family, and we have great support from our outside part of the family, but as far as the immediate family, we are tight-knit. Because my foundation has been always God first, then family. And I've always thought that if I raise my kids up in the admonition of the Lord, and my husband and I at that time, before he passed away, we were always in agreement, as we should be, on anything when it comes to any decisions that are made, anything that needs to be done. It was always unified, and I raised my kids to be the same way. I married at 22 years old, so I was married for 38 years. So kids were always in my path because I've always loved kids. Even as a teenager, I babysit my nieces, my nephews. We're parents at that point where they need to be potty trained and wean them from the bottle. That was auntie, that was me. So I've always loved children. So before I had any kids, I always said, when I have my kids, this is the way I'm going to raise my son or my daughter. And that's what I did. But I never had any fallback of not wanting to have kids. I always wanted to have kids because I come from a family of 9. So I have 7 brothers and 1 sister. Well, actually for me as a mom, my husband was a fireman, so he had a schedule. So I was like mom and dad most days because his schedule was 1 day on, 2 days off, or depending on how the schedule falls, it might be an overnight shift. But as far as taking care of Joshua, it was like a challenge because boys are a little bit more busy, I say, to handle versus girls. And then with Joshua, he was busy all the time. So the way I was able to maintain some of the things that Joshua did was I put him in sports. You know, we kind of kept him going, and when there was times that he had to be chastised, most times it was just a look. And he knew what that look meant because as I was coming up, my parents were very disciplinary, so I tried to instill the same thing in him. My son is Joshua, by name White. He is 32 years old, and he has 3 kids, 3 boys, 10, 8, and 1. And he's a very good kid. He's ambitious. He's trying to be an entrepreneur to start his own business. But as most young people are, they have to find their way. So I allow him to search to find out what he needs and direct him as needed instead of just kind of taking over. But other than that, he's a great son to have. At the time when I first had my daughter was first. So I had a 5-year-old that was starting school, and then I had a newborn, which was Joshua, my son. So it was a balance. Take her to school, take him to daycare. And from that, it was like we get up in the morning, because Dad was a fireman. So we get up, I had to make sure they get their breakfast, make sure they had their bags packed, that they were ready to go. And we left out together. I do the routine in the afternoon. I come back, I pick everybody up. You have to go home, you prepare dinner, you go through homework, make sure the baby's okay, which was him at that time. And it was just a day-to-day. That's what we did, is we had a routine. This is how we do it. My son had some challenges in his life early. The death of his sister at 14 put him in a situation where he was looking for that sibling love from the outside, and it caused him to go down a path that he didn't want to go down. And no matter how I would say you don't want to go down that road, we try to shelter our kids from trouble. It ain't always going to work that way. And in his case, at an early life, he went through some things early that he should not have had to go through. So he was rebellious in many ways, but the good thing about him being in trouble and being locked down the way he was locked down, it made him appreciate all those times I said it takes prayer to get through any given situation. And it took prayer for him to get out. And when he came, he realized what mama had said really was what he should have been listening to. And I think that's helped him through life. Even now, he knows that the only way he's going to make it is through God and through prayer. I believe my son benefited from having his father home, two parents. You have mom, you have dad, and he was able to see two people that love each other. How do you treat your spouse? How do you maintain your family? How to be the head of a household? And his father was able to show him lots of things that maybe if it was just me, I could not show him. And meaning in saying that, how to be a father. You know, go out, get a job, take care of your kids, make sure that they don't want for anything, make sure that you're their sole provider versus you having to go out and do things in a different way. And with his father being there, I believe it was his goal to be the best that he could be through his father. And his dad was a pusher to get in sports, you know, be the best you can be. And he was at the football games, and he was at the baseball games, different things. He was always there to help with that discipline that I maybe could not do. His dad was the one that could shut it down, and he knew exactly what, you're going to sit down, you're going to listen, you're going to do what I say. So I think he benefited from having his dad home. My support system was great because my mother was always there to support me with my kids. But the good thing about that is my mother was not the kind of mother where you just take your kids and you drop them off. She would not be that type of mother. It was like, these are your kids. I'll watch them for a few hours, but you had those kids and you're going to be the one that have to raise those kids. And I wanted to be that mother where I took care of my kids, that they wouldn't say, well, my auntie had me, you know, or my uncle had me. I wanted to be that, and my support system was always, I'm going to keep you right here with me. But yes, we got you over here. Mama is over there. Granddad is over there. Uncles are over there. But the support system that we had, there was something that I needed, or someone to talk to my kids, or someone just to be there for them when they didn't have anybody else to talk to, that I had. Always worried about the fact he would get caught up in something. So I would always tell him when he went out the door, you know, I'm going to pray, let's pray before you leave, you know, so we can make sure that you're covered, you know, in spite of getting caught, in spite of, you know, being pulled over. But my fear was always cops, whether it be good or bad, you know, they had the trigger happy thing was always a concern for me. For a young black man, even to this day, he's 32 years old, I still have that in the gut of my stomach because I see it every day. I would give advice and encouragement to young mothers. Never allow your kids to wander on their own. And when I mean wander on their own, when you see your kids looking or searching for something, find out what's going on in this young black man's mind. He's going to be a man one day. So you need to be that first teacher that he needs to understand right from wrong. Don't get caught up into different crowds. Disciplinary, as far as that, we got to take away things from them. And in this day, we give them everything. They have cell phones, they have iPads, they have games. And I would suggest just be more attentive to your kids to know what's going on, who they're affiliated with, who they're associated with. And even when they're acting out, know why they're acting out, because it could be deeper than we think it is. And if we don't ask questions, we won't ever get an answer from them. And if they know that we love them enough to ask and care about them, then they'll be more susceptible to come to us and talk to us first before they go to anybody else, because they know if I tell mom, she's going to understand when nobody else will. Well, when my husband passed away, it was very crucial because I was not home at the time that he actually left, and my son had to endure a lot to see him for the last time that he could see him. And that part has really bothered him a lot. And then for him to go from one stage to the next stage versus go and come home, he didn't get a chance to do that. So right now, he's doing ultimately everything he can to try to live up to the things that he told his dad that he would do. But the effect on him is real, because I can see sometimes there's the distance, there's the anger, because he did not get a chance to do what he wanted to prove to his dad that he could do, is be this big entrepreneur person. But I believe even in his father's death, he will rise up and still be able to make it to what he wants to be.
My name is Carla. I'm originally from Miami, Florida, but I currently live here in Georgia. I've been here off and on since I was 8 years old. My parents relocated, and that's what brought me up here rather. I have 4 boys, like all boys. I don't know how I didn't end up with a girl, but yeah, all 4 boys. Ages 15, 9, 4, and 2. I actually have been married 3 times. Recently divorced last year from my last marriage. So yes, I have been married before. My 2-year-old and my 4-year-old, yes, I was married to their fathers. Oh my goodness. So my 15-year-old, he likes sports, games, what's that, PlayStation. My 9-year-old, he likes playing the game too. Going outside, being a kid. My 4-year-old, yes, so he thinks he's already a NBA basketball player. And my 2-year-old, I'm still trying to figure that one out. That's a mystery. He has his own personality. To be honest, I can't really take the credit for nothing. If I was to go back from my first son to now, I really can't tell you how, besides prayer and just trusting God. It wasn't because I had the support system. It wasn't because I had the finances or the provisions. It was, my faith and, God just making a way out of no way. And, in that process of him strengthening me and, helping me to, realize that, I don't have to have it figured out. I don't have to have it at my fingertips. But trusting him has, given me a security in knowing that, he will provide, and he always have. So, okay, my oldest, my 15-year-old, yes, he came around maybe when he was 8, 9, maybe 10 years old. My 9-year-old, yes, he's around for him. My 4-year-old, give or take, not really. And my 2-year-old, unfortunately, no, not really anymore. My 2-year-old, that was my last marriage, like I said. Now, when we were married, he was very supportive. If anything, I knew that he would be an awesome father. But what I'm noticing, and just, just out of my own experience, a lot of times the male can stem to be a part of that child's life as long as they are a part of your life. But once you separate, they don't know how to still continue or realize that that child still needs you. That's still your responsibility, regardless if we're still together or not. A child didn't ask to come here. They're innocent. And the fathers play such a major part, because yes, I'm the mother, and a lot of times I'm the mother. I can't even say I'm the mother and the father, because I'll never know what it is to be a man. I can only give my children what God has given me. I will never be able to, make up the deficit or the void. Like I said, I've been married 3 times. I want to do it right. I'm tired of the ones that look like, and then when you get married or when you actually get into that relationship, you have to then be exposed to something you never knew, the hidden things, the broken things, the anger, and it really has affected my kids. When you're raising children, they date who you date. They're married to who you're married to. And, as a mother, I had to step outside of even wanting that companionship for me and say, is this healthy for my children? Is this the time? Is this, the qualities in this particular man? Is this the son that I want to see become this type of man? And until God brings that person, I've learned from various mistakes. Dating right now is not on the table unless God say this is who I want you to have. Because I've had the ones that said they were saved, they love God, and when you go after a certain look, meaning if you're in God, I know you're not going to be perfect, but there's a standard. There is, just certain qualities that you look for. And when you don't get that, and you're saying, okay, this, because he's a saved man, I know God brought him into my life. I know that this is God, God sent him to me, and then everything crumbles. You have to really take a step back and really make sure. I'm talking about, you really got to hear that it's God, because they can look like, they can act like, they can portray, they can say all the right words. My last husband was prophesying in my life, praying over me. I was in a dead place at that time, and I'm usually the pusher. I'm the one that can see the greatness in the man. So for me to have met someone that saw the greatness in me, I just knew this was the one. They were beating me to church. I didn't have to, try to push them, so I kind of let my hair down, like, I can love again. This is somebody that God has sent me. But in actuality, my children were verbally abused. I was left for dead when I got COVID from him. And we're talking about a man of God. COVID had ended up putting me in the hospital in ICU for about a month. The doctors told me that I was not going to live. and I felt every bit of it. I literally had to fight for every breath. That experience within itself changed my life. And the only thing that brought me out was my children. You know, it was a me and God moment. It wasn't no husbands, it wasn't no support system, it was me and God literally, you know, sitting there. I was trying to figure out who was going to raise my kids. And I couldn't think of anyone that would raise them, because with them having different fathers, I'm the link to keep them together. And, you know, my mind was going like, if this one go with this one, you know, they might not get treated, or this one might not get raised, knowing God, just, you know, different things. And I said, God, you know, nobody can raise my kids like me. I'm all that they have. That's when I realized, you know, I don't care. Not a man, not a person at that point could give me or my kids what we needed. It was God. And he literally answered my plea. I'm here today, and it's only by his grace. And that's when I realized that as a mother, as a future wife, you know, I began to know my value. I understood my worth. I understood my children. And just to be able to hug them one more time, I felt like I owed them so much. So I began to try to correct my wrongs and make it right. And one of it was, you know, because I wanted a family so bad. They went through some things they should not have gone through, because I was always raised that, you know, the man's supposed to be in the home. You know, it's an incomplete family if you don't have the man as the head. So you find yourself, you know, trying to work things out. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to do better. You know, maybe, you know, I need to be quiet more. Maybe I need to talk more. Maybe, you know, and just trying to give them what I thought or what I was raised to know, to give them that family foundation. But really, at that moment, coming out and surviving from COVID, I realized just how damaged my sons were. So the first thing was, you know, filing for a divorce, and beginning to just focus on my kids, love on my kids. And it's a lot of work ahead of me. I'm still, you know, going through that process, their anger, because like I said, my last marriage, he was verbally abusive to them. So, you know, they don't want to see no man. They don't want to, not right now, you know. So I'm trying to pour love back into them. I'm trying to give them Jesus. I'm trying to now, you know, the best way that I can, show them the image that I want them to be, not the image that they have seen. So, yeah, right now, just me and Jesus. When I just look at, you know, our brown skinned boys, my boys, you know, society, I see repeated cycles. I see generational curses. The Bible says, train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he's old, he won't depart from it. And we look at that text as, you know, pulling out of the positive. But there's a flip side, because if you train up the child and he's seeing anger, that's really the way he's gonna go. If you're training up the child and the father is absent, there's a big possibility he's gonna be an absent father. That's the way he should go. That's the word.
Hi, I'm Lisa Norwood, founder and CEO of Mothers Raising Sons. Back in 1999, I was working in juvenile court, and as I was there, I just noticed a lot of single mothers raising boys and needing help. That is not true. What really happened is one of my employees came to me and said, I have this lady at the front desk and she needs some help. I went to her and she had a 6-year-old son, and she said, he needs a probation officer because I don't know what to do with him. I'm like, oh my Lord. I just prayed about it. Lord, what is it that I need to do to help these mothers that are coming in and not knowing what to do with their sons? And also, I needed some assistance with my sons. A program that would educate me and mentor to them. And I searched, and by being in the juvenile court, I knew the programs that were available to keep them from re-entering recidivism, but there was nothing for them to prevent them from coming in. God put on me to start a nonprofit. What is a nonprofit? I don't know what that is. And I asked friends and family, what should I do? And they said, why would you think of leaving your job to start a nonprofit that you don't know nothing about? And my answer was, he'll provide everything that I need. So, despite what everyone else was saying, I stepped out on faith and I quit my job. And I started Mothers Raising Sons with God being my CEO. So Mothers Raising Sons, what we do is a support group where we educate single mothers on raising boys and mentor to the boys. So the boys have their group and they talk about their issues and concerns. And then we have the mothers in their group where they talk about their issues and concerns. And in both groups we have positive male role models to give us suggestions and ideas of their issues and concerns. Thank you for choosing Mothers Raising Sons, the village of single mothers raising sons. Appreciate it.